Jack, he just wrote a column for Sports Pac-12, who Dash Sports TV is partnered with to publish written content from our hosts for our shows. Jack wrote a column about how UCLA, having Brett Hundley, Josh Rosen, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a little bit of Wilton Spate, is the quarterback university in the Pac-12 of the last decade, maybe the whole country. So, Jack, I feel like you got to take it away. Explain yourself here.
All right. First of all, if anyone disagrees with me, drop it down in the comments which school is better. You know, you had your Clemsons, you've had your Louisvilles, your Ohio States. All have had relatively good quarterbacks these past few years. Gone drafted to the NFL, done pretty well there. But just within college, just with the teams that they had, the Pac-12 quarterbacks overachieved the most. I mean, when you had Brett Hundley in the beginning of the decade, you had a 9-5 team, 10-3, 10-3. That 9-5 team went to a conference championship game. I mean, 2 of their losses were against Stanford that year, and then they had a bowl collapse, basically. But then Brett Hundley led them to 2 more 10-win seasons. Yes, they had good defensive players, but on offense, they didn't have superstars all along the line, out of receiver positions. They had decent running backs, but Brett Hundley really elevated them every single time. Then you get to Josh Rosen. You know, he came in with a lot of hype, and he lived up to it week after week. Yes, injuries his sophomore year kind of derailed things a little bit, but when you look at that magical Texas A&M game, which was the first UCLA game I ever attended as a student and left early from, unfortunately, you see something special in him. You saw something that you've never experienced. I've never experienced from a college quarterback before. I think the only time I've ever watched a quarterback before or during that point was Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson seemed like he'd come into a game and change things just by himself. And Josh Rosen was at that level with a much worse team overall. I mean, you had guys from the defensive side getting drafted in bunches. Like he couldn't keep to a solid team. And then you get to DTR, came in as the number 2 dual threat prospect. And yes, last week I kind of said he wasn't at the level he should be. And I still believe he hasn't achieved that level, but he has the potential. He has the ability in that Washington State game, in some of these like Pac-12 South games where you think UCLA is kind of getting lost. He has the ability to turn it on. Has he done it consistently? Not yet. We haven't seen that, but this is the year he could turn it around and really prove things are different. With those 3 guys, there is no better quarterback university. I challenge you, Sam, to give me a better one.
I'll give you one, not only entry, but in the conference. You have Oregon, easy. Marcus Mariota, Heisman winner, runner-up for national champion, Rose Bowl winner, and then you forget the guys in between, like Darren Thomas early on, back with Chip Kelly, is all right, but then you go to Justin Herbert, who was just a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, had back-to-back 300-yard games. And it's not only the NFL success, he won a Rose Bowl. When's the last time a UCLA quarterback won the Rose Bowl? When's the last time a UCLA quarterback won the Heisman? So I get what you're saying. There's been a nice little run of quarterbacks here, guys who are relevant. You don't really get those forgettable whatever guys. Maybe Wilton Spate, but just Wilton Spate around Westwood was well liked. So you go Brett Hundley, Josh Rosen, Wilton Spate, DTR. That's a good group. It is nowhere near the best.
But you say Justin Herbert, top 10 pick. Okay, Josh Rosen was also a top 10 pick. Marcus Mariota, yes, number 2 pick. But look at the system he had around him. Look at what Chip Kelly and that team built. You had speed everywhere on that team. The defense wasn't great, but it was good. UCLA's defense, especially in the past few years, hasn't been up to the standard that we know it can be at, like when Barr and Kendricks and Jack were here. Our friend Cody from Cougar Dash also said Washington State would like a word. Yes, Gardner Minshew is good. Anthony Gordon last year, lights out some of this time. But the air raid offense elevated those guys. They always look better than they were. It's like your Texas Techs. It's like your Oklahoma States. It's like your Oklahomas. A lot of times these guys look a lot better than they are because of the systems they're in, because their offenses run up the score and their defenses just let everyone through. Like UCLA's defense sometimes does let teams through a little easily. Sometimes they're rock solid, especially in this last decade. But the quarterbacks were always consistent. The quarterbacks were always on. They were always there for UCLA no matter what. Someone else said USC is still a better QB school than UCLA.
I'll take that one. I'll take that one, Jack, because I don't agree with you saying they're QBU. Don't agree that they're QBU in the Pac-12 because just look at what Oregon did during Chip Kelly era, post-Chip Kelly era. I think Oregon's it. I knew that people would have a problem with the USC thing because people are always going on about, oh, US quarterbacks, look at what they do. They're so great. USC's QBU. I don't see it. I really don't. I know that the guys who are there are only relevant because it's USC. And not all of them. Some of them are really good. Some of them are great. But you tell me Mark Sanchez, come on, really? Sam Darnold, I really respect Sam Darnold, and I know things aren't going great for him with the Jets. But you look at him and Rosen right next to each other, you have like Darnold at 1A, Rosen at 1B. It's Rosen's behind, but they kind of went through their careers together. They went through the college and the NFL draft together. They're kind of right there. Darnold had a better junior season. Darnold won a Rose Bowl over Penn State. That's great. But all things considered, they're kind of both right there. And then I don't think USC's had anyone as good as Brett Hundley in the last decade. I don't think that their revolving door of future Bills backup quarterbacks are really killing it